I have just completed Final Fantasy XVI on the PlayStation 5 and I've got myself the Platinum Trophy. Now, regular viewers to the channel, you know what we're about to get into, and I do apologise and I hope you understand why I've jumped ahead 10 games to Final Fantasy XVI. New viewers to the channel, this is the Final Fantasy Platinum series where I go back and platinum all the Final Fantasy games that are available on the PlayStation, get the trophy, talk about it with you guys. We get to reminisce and kind of give our thoughts and opinions. It's been a really good time and it's a well worthwhile reason for you to hit the subscribe button if you are interested. We're doing it again here with Final Fantasy XVI, but if you do want to go back and watch the other episodes, they're there. Mainline titles, side games, and everything else in between. Hope you can get involved and enjoy what I can bring to the table in this Platinum series. Now, with that all being said, what is up, guys? Jen here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are all doing well. As always, I've got you covered with timestamps in the description, so if you want to skip to a certain section of the video, that is fine. Whatever floats your boat, watch this video however you want. All I ask is for you to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and get involved in the comment section down below. Now, as I'm talking about Final Fantasy XVI, I will be retreading ground I covered in my review, but of course I've completed the game and gotten the platinum, so they may change a little bit. So if you want to watch that review and come back, that's fine. If you just want to watch this, that's fine as well. This is probably the most definitive video you're going to get from me when it comes to reviewing Final Fantasy XVI. So let's get straight into the story of Final Fantasy XVI, and don't you worry, I'm not going to spoil you whatsoever. The only spoilers you're going to get in this video are probably going to be minor gameplay spoilers. Maybe there's an ability that you've not unlocked yet, or maybe there might be a little bit of a fight that you've not experienced yet, but it's not going to be anything major when it comes to the plot of Final Fantasy XVI. And of course, when we go to the trophy list and talking about trophies, there are going to be spoilers relating to those, but I will mark them as spoilers in the timestamps, so if you want to avoid them completely, complete the game for yourself, come back, then that is all right with me. So the story is fantastic. I absolutely love the story of Final Fantasy XVI. It had me hooked ever since the first trailer dropped. I got to go to London to play the game. I was hooked. I got to play the demo. I was hooked, and I've played through the entire game twice, and I'm absolutely hooked in this story and its world and everything it does to kind of encompass you in that world and story and its characters. It's tremendously well done, probably one of the best video games I've played when it comes to the story, especially at the age where I am now and growing up and evolving with the series. This is Final Fantasy for me, and it took me on a journey that I'll never ever forget, and I'll be talking for years to come, especially when it comes to conversations about games that we grew up with. Even though I am in my 30s now, I'm growing up with Final Fantasy ever still, since I was younger coming to now, you know what I mean, and it just is really nice to kind of experience this story and have a really good time. I feel like if I go on any longer talking about the story, I'll start kind of dropping some seeds here and there and spoiling it for those that have not experienced it yet. So please, let's talk about it one day when, you know, everything is out there, time has passed, and have a really good time when it comes to story. But just in a nutshell, real good time, and one I'm never going to forget. I mentioned characters and world when talking about the stories. The cast of characters here, I care about every single one of them, even the annoying ones. Everyone has a story, and it kind of links to when I go into side quests and kind of side stories, and we'll go into that when we get there. But you kind of invest yourself in this world, in this game, you are going to be rewarded for that in its characters, its backstory, little pieces of the world that are revealed to you through kind of like the tomes and through talking to NPCs. You are rewarded for your time. And again, I've got to shout out my favorite side character of all time. I think most would be Sid, maybe Jill. For me, it's Gav. I'm a Gav follower through and through, and if you've played Final Fantasy XVI, you will know exactly what I mean. Absolutely love that guy. Kind of summarizing story, characters, and the world together, it has been an incredible time. Let's move on to the gameplay of Final Fantasy XVI, and we're going to start off with exploration. These maps, again, are huge. They are sectioned off. It kind of reminds me of like if, I don't know, if we blew up Final Fantasy XII's kind of segmented maps into these massive areas, even though they're not interconnected. And it would be nice to have that kind of connectivity between each map instead of having to go to the world map each time. But the maps that we get are huge, they're expansive, there are nuts and crannies to find secrets, chests, items, monsters, hunts, and everything else in between. These maps are expertly crafted. I think the most definitive factor of these huge maps is how beautiful these look. I look over the horizon, and yes, a part of me wishes that I could go over there and explore it, but I feel like these segmented maps are the perfect way to kind of portray what Final Fantasy XVI has to offer. I think this is the perfect time to touch on the side quests, because I know it's kind of like the talk of the town at the moment when it comes to Final Fantasy XVI. I want to give my 2 cents to the matter. Now, side quests in any RPG or any kind of game that you play can be tedious if you really kind of like have drained yourself of too much of the story, or you've been playing too long and you kind of think, oh man, this is stretched out. And yeah, they are pretty tedious. But I feel like the way that Final Fantasy XVI tackles them is very rewarding if you are invested in the world and its characters. And this is a thing I'm saying again and again, invested in its world, its characters, its story. If you're a big fan of that and it is a main reason why you're playing, then the side quests and their kind of side questy MMO nature to them won't really matter to you. You'll just kind of rally on through and you'll be rewarded with all of the lore and all the satisfying conclusions to the characters you meet, the places you go to, and overall add to the main story. But if you're one of those that are not really into the story, or you don't really have the time to be going out and talking to NPCs, you're probably going to have a really bad time with how the side quests are kind of pitched, because they are the typical side quests of going over to point B and collecting item C and then bringing it back to person A, and then talking to person A, and he tells you to go down the stairs to talk to person B, to then go back up to person A that sends you to person Z, who's across the world somewhere. Talk to him, he sends you back to person A. You see where I'm going with this. It can be quite convoluted and you could get lost and end up skipping through all that dialogue and then not caring about any of the characters. Once you kind of fell into that trap, you aren't going to care about the side quests and they're going to be nothing to you. If you want to kind of really take in everything, bide your time. Put time aside for these side quests, invest in them, listen to them, accept them for what they are, and you will truly be rewarded, especially when you get to the end game as you're kind of heading towards the finale of Final Fantasy XVI. Everything that you've done will be so rewarding in what it gives you. Stick with it is my advice if you are having trouble but you are really wanting to know the world. If you don't really want to know the world and just want to complete the game, then go ahead, but I feel like you're going to feel a little bit empty, or there are going to be questions that you can ask. You're going to get to certain parts of the story or certain parts of the world and you're going to be like, hold on a minute, what's going off here? But if you're taking the time to do this side quest, you'll be like, oh yes, I know what I'm getting into here and I know where I want to go with this. So it's really hard to kind of like pitch and sell side quests to someone that isn't interested, but I feel like you are not getting the full Final Fantasy XVI experience without having to do these side quests. I guess speaking about side quests and kind of segueing to side content, we have the Hideaway, which is the base of operations. There's plenty to do here. There's obviously the closer characters to the story have their own side quests. You can obviously go to the blacksmith, craft weapons. You can go to the item shop, buy weapons, accessories, potions. Anything that you feel like a Final Fantasy would offer, you will find it in the Hideaway. We have an orchestrion to play music that we've collected, whether it be through story or doing side quests or finding it in its chest. We have a bard that kind of sings us the story so far, or whatever is relating to the matter. The good old spoony bard will kind of sing the tales of the realm to us. Speaking of the realm, we have the state of the realm with good old Vivian Ninetails explaining us character relationships and explaining us like how each region is kind of tackling the conflict that's within Valistia at that time and going back to like the past, so you got a bit of knowledge of everything that the world has to offer. Again, world building at its finest. We have the Patron's Whisper, where if you do side quests you can then try trade in those kind of patron points to kind of you know, get some items, some really nice accessories, orchestrion rolls, anything that you feel like may enhance your gameplay experience. We have an NPC that will take you to the side quest directly, so you don't have to feel like you're going from point A to B and wasting time just kind of, you know, lofting around the map, finding the side quests. The good old lore master here as well, so again, if you want to dive into the world a little bit more, it's here at your exposure in the Hideaway. And you know, the Hideaway is just a great place to kind of hang out, listen to a bit of NPC chatter, you know, do hunts as well, which you unlock later in the game, and really get your teeth into Final Fantasy XVI and everything it has to offer. Okay, I think I've smashed everything out of the way that I wanted to tackle when it comes to exploration. And speaking of smashing things, let's talk about combat. And I kind of want to take you back to me looking at Final Fantasy XVI when it was first announced. When I heard that it was going to be a character-driven action RPG, I was like, am I happy with that decision? I didn't know what to think, but I always go back to when Final Fantasy X came out. I played Final Fantasy VII, 8 and 9, and I was engrossed in the way that them Final Fantasies were kind of pitched to me and how I took them, the world maps, get into a certain part of the story where I can kind of go anywhere and everywhere. But as soon as I played Final Fantasy X and there wasn't a world map, I was like, hold on a minute, this ain't Final Fantasy. But then soon realizing, after kind of going through the experience of the game, battle system that had to offer, it was Final Fantasy. And then the same applied to Final Fantasy XII, Final Fantasy XIII, 15, and again here with Final Fantasy XVI in its character-driven RPG action. So the combat for me, really nice. I really enjoyed my time with the combat. I really like how the game introduces it to you and kind of holds your hand, but I think the term I usually use, it doesn't hold your hand all the way. It kind of guides you like a bike with stabilizers. It just pushes you, takes them off, and you're kind of never going to fall off with it. You will probably settle on certain abilities when you get to the end game, like I did. There was definitely a selection of abilities that I loved and I kept in my roster of abilities, but I do wish I had a loadout to kind of go through certain situations or certain enemies on the fly without having to go into my menu and kind of swapping between what I needed and then kind of going back into the battle and then swapping after battle and going into another battle, but then realizing, wait a minute, I haven't got the set that I need for bigger enemies here. You know, I really would like a loadout system where I could have 3 loadouts for 3 different situations, click a button in the menu. I know I'll still be menu diving, but I won't be spending so much time in that menu and kind of going out. Combat, when it comes to its practicality, really nice. I really feel like this battle system is catered to everyone with the timely accessories, the way it kind of guides you through just having one icon at the beginning and unlocking them gradually and really giving you the time to learn the icon abilities before you get the next icon, and I really like that. And I really don't have a bad thing to say about combat because of the amount of utility it comes with. You have a training mode, you can go back through other stages, you can go into the wilderness, into these big, expansive, huge maps and kind of just grind away and practice away. There's so many positives that I really can't think of any negatives with the combat, except with a little bit kind of utility when it comes to loadouts. Apart from that, the combat is where it is at for Final Fantasy XVI, and it has been so welcoming to me as a player that I really don't mind if we go to Final Fantasy XVII and it keeps the same track record as that, or if we go back to turn-based. I really don't mind, because Final Fantasy has introduced me to all of these gameplay mechanics, whether it's a turn-based, action-based, or the way its RPG elements work, and it's really welcomed me and made me feel like I am playing a Final Fantasy game. It's the same thing here, and I can't really fault a bad thing about it. Please let me know in the comment section below your experience with the combat, because I'm interested to have that conversation and see if there's something I've missed or something I may have looked over, because I am being very positive about the combat, but I didn't have any problems and it was a real fun time for me. I kind of want to go straight to the Eikon Battles, and these, again, I'm going to use the line I used in my review. These Eikon Battles are epic as fuck, full stop. That's all you need to know. That combined with the music, which I haven't talked about and I'll talk about in just a second, just trying to tie things all together, was amazing. I felt like I was playing a movie and it's very hard to do that in this day and age. Yes, there's QTEs here and there, but these are done so well and add to that experience that it didn't feel like a QTE. It just felt like I was in the moment and I had to do it to get the deed done. Just briefly talked about music, so I'm going to kind of throw it in here, but the music is incredible. If you've played Final Fantasy XIV and you like that music, you will know what you're getting into with Soken's soundtrack of Final Fantasy XVI. It's absolutely incredible, from the kind of classical arrangements, the orchestral arrangements, these kind of like ambient arrangements, to the Eikon kind of epic battle themes that we're getting in here. Everything is great and there isn't a bad beat when it comes to the music. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Soken's work in Final Fantasy XIV, you're probably going to want to be familiar with it and check out the rest of his music, because these are all bangers, and the way that they are implemented in certain set pieces as well is absolutely incredible. That's everything I kind of want to talk about when it comes to Final Fantasy XVI, and I think it's now time to talk about the trophy list. But before I talk about the trophy list, I kind of want to talk about the things that I've done above and beyond the trophy list, because going through New Game Plus, even though you kind of get the trophy for doing New Game Plus and completing it, there isn't a trophy for getting the ultimate weapon. There isn't a trophy for getting the best accessories that you can. I think they're the Sons of Ouroboros or something like that. They're not required for the Platinum Trophy, but I wanted to kind of do my due diligence, because I usually name the video. I have just 100%ed said Final Fantasy, so I kind of wanted to add to that and do a little bit extra, but I definitely did my due diligence of trying to do a 100% run of Final Fantasy XVI. I've done all the side quests twice, I did all the hunts twice, I've got the ultimate weapon, you know, I've completed the game twice, I've done everything pretty much twice in this game. So let's talk about the trophy list, and I think this is one of the easier Final Fantasies. You can use the timely accessories to make this even easier for you, but if you're like me and didn't really think about that, you're probably going to look around, I don't know, 50 hours, 60 hours looking at the list. You know, most of these are story kind of based, so that as soon as you hit certain story beats, you're going to be unlocking those story trophies. And a lot of them are tied to kind of like doing all the side quests or getting all of the collectibles that are on display in Clive's room. There is one for mastering all the abilities, and that's going to take some grinding. And then all the other ones are kind of battle specific and tied to each icon. As I was playing through my first playthrough, I wasn't actively hunting trophies. I was enjoying the experience. I was actively hunting the trophies in my second playthrough, but there was one area that helped me out. 3 reeds, kind of go straight at the beginning of that map. To your left, you'll see a bighorn. That guy is going to become your best friend for doing some of these kind of combat focused trophies. That's all I'm going to say. It's pretty easy when it came down to it. You may have to kind of move along and find some enemies that are in bigger groups, and you'll find them pretty easy. And overall, it is a fantastic trophy list, a very rewarding one. You get 50 trophies here, including the platinum, and I had a thoroughly good time playing it. But again, after I got that platinum trophy, I was still playing, and you know, still right now I'm going back to Final Fantasy XVI, diving in, seeing if I can improve my kind of combat abilities to kind of tackle the Ultimaniac modes, do the final Chronolith trials, and you know, really get the most of Final Fantasy XVI, because even though I say I've 100% completed it, I haven't hit its peak when it comes to its ultimate difficult content it has to offer. So there we have it. I've spoken about so much Final Fantasy XVI over the past couple of weeks, and again, if this is the first video you are checking out of the Final Fantasy Platinum series, I urge you to go to the playlist either up there or down below and check out the other Final Fantasies that we're going through, the mainline titles, the side games, and everything else in between, and join me in that journey. Get involved in the comments section below. Let's talk memories, let's talk experiences, things that we liked, things that we didn't like, and overall have a good time. That is the most rewarding thing about making these videos. I thank you for taking the time and listening to me talking about Final Fantasy XVI, and you know, overall having a good time. And I'm going to leave you with that. So until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.